Whilst the hammers bang and the furnaces burn, and the blades take shape with a grinding turn, from the running river amongst fields of corn, it is here the city of steel is born. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, The Wanderless Way. Today's video we are delving into the industrial past of England, focusing on the Abbeydale Industrial Hamlet in Sheffield. It is here in the Steel City that we see the most important site in the story of steel manufacture in the country. A museum of world importance, it offers a unique insight into 18th century industrial works. So please sit back, relax and enjoy the video. If you do enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up so we know it's been good, and stay tuned to the end to discover where we'll be heading next week. Welcome to the Abbeydale Industrial Hamlet, located in the city of Sheffield, South Yorkshire. Sheffield and its region, known historically as Hallamshire, lies on the eastern flanks of the Pennines. As Britain led the world into the Industrial Revolution, it is here in Sheffield that steel production becomes the heartbeat of the community, putting it in the world's centre stage and giving rise to its well-known nickname, the Steel City. Around 70 years ago, every household in Britain would own something that had been made in Sheffield. Whether it be tools such as scythes, saws, spades, scissors or chisels, or personal items such as razors and table cutlery, Sheffield made its mark on history. As the popularity of Sheffield steel increased, products were also shipped worldwide and could be found all over the globe. Perhaps look in your cupboards. Do you have anything that's been made in Sheffield? Let me know in the comments. The metal trade began in this region during the Middle Ages. The area had a rich supply of natural advantages, including iron ore, charcoal and sandstone, not to mention the steep falling rivers which could be harnessed for grinding, rolling and forging. This ready availability of raw materials and the fast-flowing streams helped the industry thrive and create employment to thousands of men and women. The River Sheaf, for which Sheffield is said to get its name, is used to provide the power for the site at Abbeydale. During its heyday between the 17th and 18th century, Sheffield's rivers supported over 160 mills, with Abbeydale being the largest water-powered industrial site to use the sheaf. The river was dammed for its power, which would keep the 4 water wheels moving. In turn, this power would drive the machinery on the site. Today it is one of the best fully preserved sites in the world, and despite being over 800 years old, many of the original buildings, machines and tools are still preserved and kept here. In the 18th century, the invention of Crucible Steel became a game changer, and here at Abbeydale you can see for yourself the entire process. The site houses the only intact Crucible Steel furnace remaining in the world. It was built around 1830 and was the source of Abbeydale's steel for manufacturing the various tools and implements that were made here. The crucible furnace would reach temperatures in excess of 1600 degrees Celsius. The work was hot, hard and dangerous with many hazards. It required a highly skilled workforce to make up the community in the hamlet. Many of the workers here would be using knowledge and expertise that had been handed down from generation to generation. It was hard, noisy, manual work. The increasing demand for Sheffield steel scythes ensured the workers were always kept busy. Despite being busy, it was important to stay alert, for this could be a dangerous occupation. The fine dust thrown off the stone during the process got into the workers' lungs, causing silicosis, a long-term and sometimes fatal lung disease caused by inhaling large amounts of silica dust, usually over many years. There was also the risk of parts of grindstone breaking away and causing injury or blindness. In 1870, the central heating boiler in the blacking shop blew up, killing 2 men, and in 1912 a grindstone burst in the grinding hall, killing a scythe grinder. Life and work could be tough. Ironically, many of these people would never travel outside of Sheffield, unlike the scythes they created, which would be sent all over the world. Before we go any further, let's take a look at the story of Crucible Steel, a breakthrough that would play the leading role in the heritage here. Here in Europe, Crucible Steel was developed by Benjamin Huntsman. Born June 1704 in Epworth, a small town in North Lincolnshire, around 40 miles away from Sheffield, Benjamin was born to a Quaker farming couple. On that note, if you would like to learn more about the Quakers and how that all started, please do subscribe to the channel because I've got a video coming up on just that in the next few weeks. For now, let's get back to Benjamin. He started his business as a clock, lock and tool maker in the nearby town of Doncaster. It is in Doncaster that he experimented in steel manufacture, for he was looking to make high-quality steel for the springs in his watches. Benjamin then moved to Handsworth near Sheffield, and it is here that after many experiments he was able to make satisfactory cast steel in clay pot crucibles. The first object to contain crucible cast steel was a long case clock made by Huntsman himself. Huntsman had used coke rather than charcoal or coal, which achieved a temperature that was high enough to melt steel and dissolve iron. It allowed the steel to be cast by pouring it into moulds. Huntsman's process greatly increased the European output of quality steel suitable for use in items like knives, tools and machinery. Here at Abbeydale, where from 1695 to 1933 scythes and other edge tools were made, crucible steel was highly important. Times do change, however, and today what was once the revolution of crucible steel is now an obsolete process. In 1933 the site was closed, and in 1935 was bought by John George Graves, a successful English entrepreneur who also has a fascinating story, but we'll maybe do that one another day. Graves donated the site to the city along with some other important landmarks. The Abbeydale Works was briefly reopened during the Second World War when the crucible furnace was relit for a time to produce high-quality steel to support Britain's war effort. By 1964, the Council for the Conservation of Sheffield Antiquities began the restoration, which led to the discovery of 6 buildings, including a lime and coke shed and a boiler house that had been present on a 1924 map. In 1970, it finally opened as a museum. Sadly, it closed again in 1997 by the Sheffield City Council as a cost-cutting measure. But thankfully in 1998 it became leased to the Sheffield Industrial Museums Trust, who reopened it as a museum in 1998. The earliest known records for the site date back to 1713, but it is possible the site was occupied prior to this, as far back as the 13th century. So let's take a walk through the key areas together. The Workers' Cottage. This cottage is one of 3 houses built in 1973. Workers like the forge master and his heater lad lived here. Home life centred round the fireside in the living room. People cooked over the fire in cast iron pots. There is no oven. A workshop furnace was used for baking. The big pantry provided plenty of space to store fresh and preserved food. When the museum opened, the cottage was styled as a home from the 1840s. The Counting House. This is the site of the original counting house built by Martin Goddard in 1786. All the accounting for Abbeydale Works took place here, carried out by the foreman and his clerk. They counted the piecework done by the workers and paid their weekly wages. The room is set in the 1920s, just before W. Tyzack and Sons Limited moved out. The steam engine. This is the only steam engine in Sheffield that remains on its original site. It was built in 1855 by Davy Brothers of Sheffield. The steam engine was only used when the water in the dam was too low to drive the water wheel. It powered the grindstones in the grinding hull behind it. The engine was restored after standing outside for many years. In 1905, Davy Brothers also built the huge 12,000 horsepower River Don engine, which you can see working at Kelham Island Museum. The boring shop. It is here that the fitters make painted riveted scythes. You need to be strong and skilled to do this job. The scythes made here are lighter and more flexible than the more expensive crown scythes made in the tilt forge. The first job is to fit an iron back to the blade, and this makes it stronger. Then one of the 3 boring machines is used to drill holes in the blade. They are powered by a small water wheel below. You can see the belts coming through the floor in this room. Now the scythe blades are ready for riveting. The millwright has a chamber at the back of the boring shop. He builds and repairs the water wheels and the machinery and hand tools. It's an important job and ensures everyone keeps working. The crucible furnace. The head melter weighs out the secret steel recipe in the charge room upstairs. After the crucible pot is lowered into the furnace, he uses a big funnel to pour the charge ingredients into it. The puller out and cokey look after the furnace fires, and to protect themselves from the heat, they cover their legs and waist with leather and sacking soaked in water. Each melt takes 3 to 4 hours. When the steel's ready, the puller out uses iron tongs to lift the red-hot pot out of the furnace. When the lid's taken off, the muck is skimmed off the top with a mop. That's an iron plate with some hardened slag on the end. Then the molten metal is poured into moulds to make steel ingots. You have to have a very steady hand. There are a few more rooms here at the museum, but I'm trying not to make this video too long. So we'll take a next stop to the blacking shop, and then we'll finish off the video with a trip around the manager's house. The blacking shop. This is where the finished blades are packed and wrapped in straw rope. Workers here have to be quick and careful. The scythes are sharp as razors. Before they wrap them, the finisher paints the blades with a special varnish to stop them rusting. Here they make 2 different types of scythe blades, patent riveted scythes and crown scythes. The riveted scythes are stored in the warehouse upstairs ready to be shipped out, but they store the crown scythes in a warehouse next to the workman's cottage, which we visited earlier. The scythes have a wooden handle called a snath, and the customers have those fitted themselves. The manager's house. This house was built in 1838 and is where the works manager and his family lived. People still lived here long after Abbeydale Works stopped production. During the Second World War, evacuees from the city stayed here, safe from the German bombers. When the museum opened, the house was styled as a home from the 1880s. This is a typical 2-storey house, which downstairs features 2 rooms and a large pantry. The living room or parlour is set out in detailed finery and boasts a piano. This would provide a means of entertainment in the days before television and YouTube. Upstairs you can find 3 decent-sized bedrooms which would provide a comfortable sleeping experience for the manager and his family. Do you notice the difference between this house and that of the workers' cottage we visited earlier? Let me know in the comments which you'd have preferred to live in. Abbeydale's national and international importance in the story of steel, the story of Sheffield and the Industrial Revolution from the 18th century onwards has been recognised in the site being designated a Scheduled Ancient Monument, making it now legally protected because of its historical importance. It consists of a group of Grade 1 and Grade 2 listed buildings and is a historical gem that provides a valuable educational resource and insight into this important part of the past. The museum is open as a free attraction to the public but relies heavily on donations. I will pop a link in the description to their website in case you'd like to visit or donate. A small free car park is available on site alongside a charming cafe that offers a perfect refreshment stop amongst picturesque surroundings. Thank you once again to the museum and the many resources it offers that have allowed me to piece this story together for you. Do subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this, and hit the notification bell as next week we visit the Sheffield Botanical Gardens. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you get the chance to visit the Abbeydale Industrial Hamlet for yourself real soon. For Sheffield, which was booming through the Industrial Revolution, this green open space became known as the lungs of the city. For workers at local hamlets like Abbeydale, they provided a place of escape. So please do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to see this part of the story next Sunday.